Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, another 20-plus point lead going into the fourth quarter last night for the Timberwolves, and they did hang on. We have some wild updated standings projections to get to with more big games across the league tonight. Basically, it's like all the relevant teams are playing tonight and then Sunday, and then we will know officially. But before we get into this Feedback Friday edition of Flagrant Howls here, a shout out to our friend Heather, Wolves Realtor, wolvesrealtor.com, Dex.
Absolutely. You know, if you're looking to sell that house, you're looking to buy a house, it can be a very complicated process. And Heather, a season ticket holder for the Wolves, has your back. So you can talk Wolves there. You can go through those playoff scenarios. You can go through how maddening the fourth quarter can be, all while trying to figure out how much is this house worth? What are all the steps I have to take? And Heather can walk you through all of that. You can go to wolvesrealtor.com to get a consultation. Plus, she is still giving away schedule magnets. You go to the bottom of the page on wolvesrealtor.com, fill out your name, your contact information, get a nice schedule magnet too as well, or a nice little Wolves logo magnet, I should say, because the schedule is obviously wrapping up in the regular season. But regardless, wolvesrealtor.com for all those real estate needs.
Also, Element Hotel is just steps away from Target Center, where if you're looking to, I'm assuming at this point, looking at the standings here, if you don't lose to the Nets or the Jazz, you're going to be playing in a playoff series, which means more home games beyond this weekend. And Element Hotel, we're offering a 15% room rate discount right next to Target Center, just down the street for you, your friends, family. If you just want to spend a fun night or weekend downtown Minneapolis, walkable to some of the best restaurants and bars, check them out. scorenorth.com/element for that 15% room rate discount. That's scorenorth.com/element. Man, very symbolic last night after what happened against the Bucks, that here they are again. They had the biggest quarter in the history of Wolves basketball, scoring 52 points in the third quarter, a 52-25 third quarter. They had 119 points going into the fourth, and symbolically a 22, I believe it was a 22-point lead. And I got to be honest, man, like that thing got down to 10 with about 5 minutes to go. And you thought, at least I did, my fatalist place mentally in these last couple of days is here we go again. It felt like the crowd could sense it too, because everyone knows what happened a couple nights ago against the Bucks. But just, it's amazing what can happen when you stop jacking threes. Like if I could go into the timeout and say, guys, 3-pointers got you here. This is great, but now you're up by 20.
Right.
Get to the free throw line, get higher percentage shots, take the variance out of this thing, and just hammer away. And they finally, Julius Randle played some bully ball, and they converted a couple shots at the rim, and they hung on. So, what a wild ride last night in Memphis.
So I'm going to give you my least favorite shot all of last night. There's one in particular, and it came from the one guy who, like, this is disappointing. They're up by whatever, 20, 18, I don't know. And it's the fourth quarter. And Mike Conley comes down the floor and jacks up an immediate shot.
Yeah.
It misses. It's a 3. It misses. The Grizz rebound it and go back down. And that's a point in time where their short-lived rally was going on. Mike Conley, you're supposed to be the stabilizer. Like, you just pass the ball, first of all. Second of all, there's no rule. Like, I know that the 24-second shot clock goes by fast, but it's still 24 seconds and you're up by a ton. So you can eat clock. You can literally, like, your best defense is to eat the clock at that point. And Mike Conley, who's like my age, who's played in thousands of games and
who was a plus 29 last night. Put some respect on his name.
But what are you doing?
You've been clowning him all year, Zolgad.
But Michael, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you are the guy who's supposed to stabilize things. You are the Liam Neeson. You're supposed to come and solve all of the problems by just knowing what to do. He jacks up a shot.
Liam Neeson.
I've got a plan. I've got a certain skill set, and it's holding on to the ball longer.
A particular set of skills. Put some respect on the line.
Then jacking up a shot. It was my least favorite play of the entire game, because if Mike Conley is going to do that, everyone else is too.
Yeah, they like. One more thing on this, and then Positive Phil is gonna make a comeback here for at least in episodes. But But in the fourth, so again, you have a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. You've been chronically unable to just put games away, including a historic meltdown against the Bucks a couple nights beforehand, right? And they wound up shooting 11 threes in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they made 2 of them, so 2 of 11. And I guess, obviously, in today's NBA, if you can shoot at a high percentage, you should be shooting a lot of threes in today's NBA. And the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards have taken that, and they've done a fairly good job with it. Like just the math of the 3-point game in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's a certain point where if you're up by 20 in the fourth quarter, it's a volatile shot because number one, you could go cold. It's very easy to go cold for a quarter or a half and go 2 for 11.
Right.
And then what happens? Long rebound, transition, Memphis playing with pace, jamming it down your throat in transition the other way. And so they wound up shooting 11 threes and only 4 free throws in that fourth quarter. And I'd love to see them try to flip that a little bit. You're trying to hang on to a lead, get to the line, literally bang your shoulder into somebody. And like Julius Randle started doing that, and I appreciated that. But stop launching these early shot clock threes when you're trying to hang on to a 20-point lead, guys.
Well, and this isn't the biggest part of it, but it certainly factors into. So the last 2 games, you're on the road, okay? And at some point in time, you have taken the entire building out of the game. Like it's like a church. And so you're controlling everything. And by doing what you're talking about, Phil, if it doesn't work, the building, as it did last night, gets back into the game, which consequently means that the home team gets back into the game. And these are just the things that it drives you crazy because it's like it is preventable. I'm not saying you're going to win by 20. You might win by 5. But it is preventable. And it's like the last 2 games, the Wolves have insisted on playing with fire and against the Bucks. They got burned badly by doing that.
Yeah, I think if you're Memphis, if you were to go into the Memphis huddle and say, okay, so you're trying to chip away at a 20-point lead. Ideally, what would you prefer the Wolves to do on offense? And I think they would tell you, settle for a bunch of threes and have Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels take half of those threes, and they knocked down 2 of the 5. So it's just, it kind of felt like they learned in some ways, but then they didn't learn in some other ways from what happened against the Bucks.
It really felt like for the first 10 seconds of that game, I legit thought FanDuel Sports Network was showing me a Wolves Clippers replay. I knew they were playing Memphis, and I legit thought, I was like, what are these red jerseys? I didn't have my glasses on either, so I'm on the couch. I might have had a whiskey and a half, and I'm like, what the? Who are they playing?
Kelsey.
This isn't Memphis.
Is that Giannis again?
Yeah, what the
What's
hell
happening?
is this? Yeah, those jersey combos too, I think were one of the worst jersey combo. I don't really love those Wolves black and
I agree with that.
Neon color ones, but the Grizzlies one looking like the Clippers was.
They did look like
hell.
Yeah, it did. It was like the
ABA throwback.
Yeah. Can I say real quick
throwback.
before we get to some of the feedback too, Ja Morant. Like I am so glad Ja Morant is not a Timberwolf because I would feel the need to just I would be lying if I tried to root for him as a fan.
Yeah.
So first of all, like in some ways it's kind of hypocritical that a country that loves guns has sort of turned on Ja Morant and like, wait, you can't be flashing guns on Instagram and this. It's like, all right, well, I mean, it's just like the most gun happy country in the entire world. So we're being a little hypocritical. So I get that part of it. But when the league says, hey, dude, you're suspended because of your love for flashing guns, and then he does the gun celebration and gets slapped on the back of the hand a couple times for that, he can't just like take a deep breath and take a step back and just go play basketball for even like a couple months. Nope. I got to come up with another explosive celebration. It's just like
Dynamite's next.
It's as Memphis fires their coach, tumbles down the Western Conference standings, and you got Ja Morant and his dad, T. Morant, sitting courtside for every game doing the grenade celebration now. I'm so glad the TNT guys, Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley, crucified him for this after the game. Yeah. Dude, it's just, he's a really talented player, but I wouldn't be shocked if Memphis moved on.
I think they're going to trade him. Yeah. I think they're going to trade him.
So, by the way, standings update here from playoffstatus.com, and Basketball Reference has pretty similar numbers. After that win last night, the Timberwolves are still, so they can land any of the seeds between 4 and 8, but the percentages are as follows. 43% chance at the 4 seed now. So the overwhelming favorite for the Wolves, like for seeding to land, is the 4 seed. Then it's 25% for the 5 seed, 20% for the 6 seed, and then only 6% for the 7 seed, 7% for the 8 seed. So, and we'd have to go through all the math here, but like if they were to win their next 2 games, which I think they're like 16 or 17 point favorites against the Nets tonight.
Yeah.
And then the Jazz should be maybe even a bigger spread on Sunday.
Yep.
If you win those games, the Nuggets and the Grizzlies play tonight back to back for the Nuggets. The Clippers and the Warriors play each other on Sunday. And there's a couple other kind of tough matchups there too. So the teams that are right above you or tied with you could wind up swapping games or kind of punching each other in the next 2 games. So if they wound up with the 4 seed, it's still unclear exactly who they would play, but it might wind up being the Nuggets or the Clippers. I think I would choose Nuggets just based on history and how hot the Clippers have been. But that's where it stands right now. That win last night, if you lose that game, you're almost assuredly in the play-in.
Oh, yeah.
But by winning that game, you are now overwhelmingly a favorite to be the 4 seed and have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs.
And a week off as well.
Yes, to
Which
scout.
which is
it was
absolutely
huge last year.
huge.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's get to some Feedback Friday here. You can hit us up in the YouTube comments on the Score North YouTube channel. You can hit us up in the feedback tab of the Score North app. So Jeremy Schulke said, did Positive Phil land back safely from taking a 2-day trip? I hope to see Positive Phil during Feedback Friday. I loved watching the Wolves bounce back in a big way last night. Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle combining for the most points in a game this year. Conference finals, here we come. I've been a Score North fan for about a year now. I love watching you and Dex and Judd every day. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, Positive Phil's definitely back after last night. He's still very much aware of what this team is capable of on the negative side.
He's been burned.
He's been in a couple therapy sessions the last couple days.
Got it. I know he mentioned vacation, so I was like, oh, where did Positive Phil go? A little self-reflecting with your therapist. I get it.
I said after the Bucks game, he left the country. There's no question about it. He left the country. He got his passport.
I went to South America for some aggressive DRT therapy. What do they call it?
The rumor is that Positive Phil saw the hockey whisperer, but it's not known for sure yet. Because the whisperer supposedly alive changed his identity.
He did. Yeah, he's in
he assumed a new identity.
Hockey witness protection program. But yeah, I think last night, as Julius Randle said on the post-game interview with Leah B. Olson, that these are basically playoff games and we need to be professionals. Couldn't tell if he was kind of talking to himself, because he did say he barely slept the night of the Bucks game. It bothered him for 2 days, which I love. But then he was kind of saying we need to be professional here down the stretch. And I'm wondering, when he says be professional, is that like an Anthony Edwards comment? Is it more just like a broad comment? But I love that those guys just attacked the Grizzlies all night. It was the Julius and Ant show, and other guys were supplementing in. And sometimes Julius commits really dumb turnovers and gets a little bit too isolation heavy. But that dude does not back down. And I will take that 10 times out of 10 when you have a must-win game. Now, I could do without some of the early shot clock launching of threes and stuff. There's definitely some quirks there, but that was one of the best Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards games. Offensive efficiency, output, just shoving it down Memphis's throat, knocking down threes at a high clip. They combined to go 12 for 21, Ant and Julius. But that was, of the whole season, that was one of the best Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Batman Robin games we've seen.
I think his professional comment was not solely reflective of Ant. I think he's talking about the fact that, Finch empowers them a lot. Like, Finch does give them a lot of rope, and it feels like at times they do well with that, and at times they don't. I think it was a team thing, because the Bucks meltdown Like that was just an absolutely unprofessional. You came completely unglued, no excuses.
And Julius was a huge part of that
Yep,
with some
yep.
bad
But
passes.
I think he is talking about the entire team. I don't think that that's a shot at a particular player.
Where do we fall on the confidence in Julius Randle not dribbling the air out of the ball and shipwrecking games? Because the first few games when he was here, the first few months, it was, there was some clunkers in there, but after the injury, it seems like he's been a completely different player. What's your trust level in Julius Randle, I think, going into the playoffs?
It does. Yeah. I mean, he has a really high opinion of his game. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can get him in trouble, but I would say more often than not, it creates good looks for him. And what I've loved, I think, compared to maybe the first 20 or 30 games that you're talking about, it feels like he's using that gravity to get open looks for teammates too. So there's flaws. There was flaws with Cat, and we documented them for years on this podcast.
No,
I know.
no flaws.
It's like
No
a
flaws.
movie.
I've come up with a theory here. It came to me last night because Julius had a fantastic game. And I'm watching that game, and I'm thinking two things. One is I do think his time off allowed him to watch his teammates play. And he's like, my style is not necessarily conducive to being successful with this group. Here's the other thing, though. I think his uptick in play, which means better stats, and he looks way more since he came back like a team player than a guy who's trying to do his own thing. I think he might be on an opt-out tour. I think that he thought, you know what? I can continue to play the way I'm playing. I'm not helping myself. Here's my theory. My grand theory on why. One is you opt out, you get paid, let's say for 4 years. Because if you opt in, it is $30.9 million. You opt out,
Yeah.
you get a 4-year contract, let's say. But more importantly, I think if you gave him truth serum, and I don't particularly blame him, I don't think he likes playing with Gobert. I think Gobert takes away a lot of things he would like to do, but there's no way around that.
This is a good point.
He fought that, right? Like the whole thing in Toronto, and he fought that. And I think Finch or somebody said, dude, Rudy Gobert's going to play. So you can either get on board or continue to sort of fight it. But I still see the sideways looks from him at Gobert. And I still see the frustration of this lunk is in the middle of the lane when I want to go there. I think he's on an opt-out tour, boys.
But this is, I think, a couple things on that. Yeah, it is a little clunky because Julius he's so old school in that, hey, give me the ball in the post or the low block somewhere, and I'm gonna go to work, baby. I'm gonna back a guy down, late 90s style, shoulder.
Distance.
And what's funny is even when Gobert's on the court in the dunker spot on the other side of the paint and the defender's there, it's kind of clogging things. And Julius just kind of plows through it all. And that's where he can get himself into trouble, because he's like 6'9". He plays a bully style like he's maybe 7 feet tall.
Yes.
But whether Rudy's on the court or not, he's like, I'm getting to the paint right now, and I'm gonna get my shot off. So you can stand there if you want, but he feeds Gobert. But Gobert is a huge reason why he's playing. I think this is my take off your take. This is the best team Julius Randle has probably played on. There was a 47-win Knicks team 2 years ago where he was third team All NBA. That was the highest scoring season of his career, 25.1 points per game. But if the Wolves get another win or two, I don't think he's any of those Knicks teams, the Lakers teams he was on. I don't think he's played on like a 48 or 49. I don't think he's played on a 50-win team. Somebody can fact check that. And Gobert is a huge reason why this team is close to a 50-win team.
Yep.
So I think that's the hard part for a lot of guys the last few years is it can be a little clunky to play with Gobert for a bunch of different reasons, but also you have to appreciate and acknowledge the work that he does on offense. And there's a couple times last night where you need a bucket and there he is wide open under the hoop for a sure 2 points, right? So, okay. Logan Moe chimes in here, Feedback Friday. As sports therapists, I find your Wolves discourse to be dizzying. Can you imagine if your actual therapist told you that 1 week your marriage was amazing and could be one of the best marriages out there, and then the next week told you to get a divorce? Nuggets game equals this team can make a deep run. Bucks game equals this team won't make it out of the first round. I don't know that anyone said that off the Bucks game, by the way. I think after the Bucks game we were pissed.
We were really upset.
Yeah, I don't recall.
But I don't know that anyone said the Bucks game means they can't make it out of the first round. Can we find a little middle ground, Logan asks, for the Wolves commentary?
Well, we can if the Wolves find that common ground that he's talking about themselves. The problem is the commentary. This team fits the definition perfectly of the word mercurial. They're a mercurial bunch, okay? So it makes the commentary difficult because the commentary is reacting to what we see. And I think we all agree. If the Timberwolves play like they can make the Western Conference bleeping finals again. They can. However, the Bucks game was not an isolated game. It was the height of the incompetence of what we've seen. But I mean, if you go back through the schedule, you have games like that, or games where they're playing teams that don't have star players, or the team just simply stinks and they lose because they don't show up. Now, my assumption is in the playoffs, you're not going to have that problem. But the Bucks game, where it scares me a little bit, is they also came apart at the seams. And Phil, you documented at the top of this show sort of where it fell apart, like what they did wrong, but they didn't fix it. So I would love to say that my commentary can say, you know what, if they just play like this. But the problem is the variance of this team is so huge. It makes it makes it difficult. But I do believe that if they play like they can play, Ant and Julius Gobert, they can make a return to the conference finals. However, I think it would be incredibly naive to say, you know what, I'm positive that they're going to play like that, given what we've seen through the course of now 81 or 80 going on 82 game season.
Yeah, I think so. Like, Logan, appreciate the question, and your point is valid in that even like our State of the Wolves Mondays, it's like, you know, the 3-game win streak, 3-game losing streak early in the season. It was like every week we would do a State of the Wolves Monday, and they haven't won a game since last week, and then we'll do another one, and they won every game in the week. And you're asking for a middle ground, but the team has not given you much of a middle ground. Like, if you were to take, I would say that the commentary, not just us, but the Johnny K's, the Dane Moores, the Chris Hines, the guys who are covering that team as beat writers on a daily basis or beat podcasters, I think they would tell you too that this is one of the more, and Judd used the word high variance, this is one of the most high variance teams in recent NBA history. If you were to take a list of the NBA's most impressive wins and put it next to the NBA's most impressive losses this year, the Wolves would own a lot of real estate at the top of both those categories. So, yeah, like when you go from beating Oklahoma City shorthanded a couple of times and sweeping the Nuggets to, on the flip side, losing games to the tanking Pelicans or the Pacers backups, or blowing a 24-point lead with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, unprecedented against the Bucks. That's not much middle. Like, there's not a lot of middle ground to operate in there. So, but I just to give you my, just put a bow on this. I absolutely still think this team could get to the Western Conference Finals. They are a maddening team sometimes, but they are also at their best. If they can tap into their best version, they are one of the 4 to 5 best teams in the NBA, maybe even higher up on that list. But other teams like the Celtics and Oklahoma City have been able to tap into their best version more consistently, more often than the Timberwolves have. So if they can, it's like you got 2 people who are looking to lose 50 pounds, and one of them consistently eats chicken breast and vegetables for every meal. And the Timberwolves eat chicken breast and vegetables for like 85% of their meals. And then the other 15%, they're binging fast food, and they've got Doritos and and I had a whole pint of ice cream last night.
Sounds great.
But I'm back on the diet today. Cookies and cream.
Yeah. I I mean, in speaking of the therapy, and I've brought it up before, is something I learned was the attachment styles in relationships was like a big one for me. That was a fun one to learn about from my therapist, which are secure, anxious, and avoidant. Those are typically the 3 relationship styles, whether it's in your personal, romantic, professional life. Those are your 3 relationship styles you typically have yourself in. And secure being like the topmost relationship, which obviously is, it's transparency, it's trusting and forgiving, which is still kind of the Wolves to a degree, right? It's still, I trust you and I can forgive you, but you still drive me up the bleeping wall. It's honest and open. And then anxious is like insecurity, right? Like you got fear of insecurities, and they're probably in the middle. They're in the middle of that secure and anxious. I don't think they're an avoidant relationship. We're almost on an avoidant relationship with the Minnesota Twins. And we've been at the avoidant relationship with the Twins before. But the secure and anxiousness, it's somewhere in a Venn diagram of both of those two.
Yeah, there's a couple other questions here that kind of play into this that we'll get to in a second here. But first, let's shout out Neos Elite Performance before we go any further on Feedback Friday. Judley.
Yes, sir. If you are active or trying to get an edge in life, guess what? The expert at Neos Elite Performance can help you. Chronic pain slowing you down. Neos's cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy is designed to get you going again without invasive procedures. That's right, folks. This is what they call white glove service delivered to your home. That means no trips to the doctors. That means the folks at Neos will come to you. So if back pain, knee pain is making everyday tasks feel impossible, stop the suffering. Neos' therapy is designed to reduce pain, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. No surgery, no downtime, just results. Check them out. Schedule an appointment now at neoselite.com. That's NEOS elite.com. The website is full of really good stuff. Tells you, because again, this is really cutting edge stuff that if you are dealing with pain, it is going to help take that pain away. Neos, NEOS elite.com.
Craft Beer Fest is on the horizon too, Dex.
That's right. If you love craft beer, then this is a must attend. Go to MinnesotaCraftBeerFestival.com. April 26th at the Minneapolis Convention Center. There will be over 80 breweries and craft beverage companies serving unlimited pours from across the state and country. Saturday, April 26th from 1 to 5 o'clock. If you love beer, go check it out. MinnesotaCraftBeerFestival.com to get your tickets.
Judley, Butcher and the Boar has become one of our favorite spots over the years in Minneapolis.
Yep. So you're going to a Wolves game, right? And you know they might drive you up the bleeping wall. You don't know if they're going to win, if they're going to lose, if they're going to play great or not. So you want to lock yourself in. You want to assure yourself of one thing. And that's why Sports Dad's going to tell you to go to the North Loop and go to Butcher and the Boar for a dinner that we can all attest to. Absolutely fantastic. If you want awesome food, Southern style hospitality, service, Butcher and the Boar is the place to go. If you do not feel like an entire meal, can I sell you on this? And that is the Judd special. Just ask for it. A beer, a brat, a shot for $15. Huge handmade beer brat with sauerkraut and mustard. Any draft beer, any rail shot. Again, just $15. Butcher and the Boar, North Loop. I'm telling you though, pre-game before a Wolves game. If you want one thing that you know is going to be consistent, that's not going to drive you up the wall, Butcher and the Boar is it. Absolutely fantastic.
Okay, Jacob Burkhart says, this team will do nothing in the playoffs. This team will do nothing as long as its best player refuses to show up and continues to do absolutely nothing when it matters. This team is destined for mediocrity, and the state is cursed.
Well,
I don't think Jacob has found the middle ground yet either here. Or could I offer an alternative here? Or with that young player who, quote, continues to do nothing, even though like that dude dropped 44 points in 3 quarters last night and was the main reason why they had a 20+ point lead that they hung on to. Are we in the middle of a 6 to 7 year process from a 19-year-old to when he emerges into his prime? Like he's 5 years into this journey and probably 2 years away from his peak form, and that might last for 4 or 5 years. And we're trying to allow for that 6 to 7 year timeline to take place while we sit in the most reactive, highly engaging media period of human history. I know I'm getting pretty deep with that, but
that's
like
pretty deep.
if there was like 24/7 sports media in the 80s and social media, what would people have said about those Michael Jordan Bulls teams or Shaq's career throughout the 90s? Like, how does this dude not have a championship yet after 7 years as this dominant force? And I could list off a bunch of other examples too, but we're watching a 24-year-old dude try to figure this thing out while we microanalyze every single second of every single quarter. So some perspective, my man, Jacob.
So Thursday night for Sports Dad was all about Wolves epiphanies. Okay. I told you, I watched Julius play and I thought, I think I know what he's doing, which is fine. If the Wolves win, who cares? On Ant. So Ant has done, like, there is no question Ant is beyond talented. And I don't think that there's a question. The dude loves his sport. Like the one thing that we never, I don't think ever question is, does he really like the sport of basketball? He loves it. And you can tell. But my epiphany is this. So this dude, we know for a fact, I think since his first year, every offseason has gone in the gym and worked on a facet and improved it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Started off 3-point shooting was not great. Now he's one of the best in the entire league. Here's the tough thing, in my opinion, about the summer of 2025 for Ant. It's the maturity factor. He needs to work on that. He needs to work on, and I'm not saying off the floor. I'm saying on the floor as a player. I think the next step is a maturity factor that will involve his consistency, that will involve his ability to articulate certain things to officials without melting down and being teed up constantly. Because he's getting to an age where sports-wise, I think it's very fair to say it's time to mature up a level. Mm-hmm. Like you're at an age where, yes, when we were his age, life-wise, you still got a long ways. But like your career is X amount of time, and it's sort of expedited. So I really think, as opposed to, well, he's got to improve this or that. Yeah, you can always improve things in your overall game. I think the most important thing, though, in the coming summer is for him to get a better grasp on maturity. Because the one thing I think where I've been most disappointed is I thought the Olympic experience was going to help him lead this team more. And he does as far as his play goes at times, like last night, right? Classic example. But there also are times where, from a locker room standpoint, I've been a little bit disappointed, or on the floor leadership standpoint. So I think that's the next big pop in Ant's game to me is not necessarily one facet of his play. It's a facet of the mental side of the maturity on the floor.
Yeah, and particularly end game. It's they've lost 26 clutch time games. They resort to just kind of they resort to bad shots. They resort to hero ball, and I do think a lot of this is coach related too. Like Chris Finch has done a lot of great things.
Fair.
But the last 5 minutes of close games, mostly a disaster for this team over 2 years.
Yep.
So there's definitely a light you can shine on coaching, but Anthony Edwards is the driving force on offense. And like you said, there's some physical things that he's worked on the last couple of years, conditioning, 3-point shooting. 2 years ago, it was that little mid-range kind of bank shot, that little floater game, and that's gone a little bit away this year. But I feel like, the biggest step he can take, I agree with you 100%, is it's almost like a film grind or like mental reps of, hey, there's 4 minutes left in this game,
right,
and you're up by 3 points. What are you doing? It can't just be step back threes and dribbling the ball for 20 seconds and probing. And again, some of this blends in with coaching too, but I do think he's going to take steps in the next 2 or 3 years, and we have to balance what we're watching right now versus what he's probably going to be in 2 or 3 years, and not be quite as hyperbolic as Jacob says, which is, we'll never do anything. This is a disaster.
He's done a ton. I mean, they got to the Western Conference Finals. They're the Timberwolves. So, and I do think too, an important factor here, and it probably hurts because the Cat trade came so late, is this. So like for a couple of years, it was sort of, is this Cat's team or Ant's team? And then it became very clear it's Ant's team. And I don't think that this is the reason why, but I do think that the trade, like if there was a pie chart of trade, the Cat trade, there's a small pie chart that's no, this is Ant's team now. Let's make that clear. I don't think that drove it. And a guy like Conley now, who shows up, who brings, magnificent ability to control things, is at a point where he is aging out, basically, right? So the next guy has to be Ant. Like you can't continue to bring in, like, let's bring in a veteran again. He's gonna have to take that step where it's not just his team, like as far as the points go, as far as the stats go, it's literally his team. And nobody else can be deferred to now to find like the next Mike Conley, right? Like he can lead the team while Ant scores. I just think it's a maturity thing. And just to say it again, I think it's very important too. I am not saying he needs to become a mature person. That is still probably a ways off, but a mature star player, unfortunately, the clock is sped way up on things like that because of the length of a career as well.
It's a basketball processing and
right
IQ and EQ thing,
right,
that is probably the next biggest step in the evolution. So, by the way, the playoffs were huge. I think the playoffs last year actually were a bigger influence, maybe even than the Olympics, just like getting to the Western Conference Finals and then getting a taste of it. So,
yep.
All right, that's your feedback here. Feedback Friday. The next time we convene is going to be for State of the Wolves Monday, where we put a bow on the regular season and see where all the chips fall here with these Friday and Sunday games. So buckle up across the Western Conference. Everyone's separated by a game. It's going to be crazy. This is Flagrant Howls, your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.